It is the technology show where we translate geek into regular speak. And I just looked at the introduction. It says with Angela as my co-host, which is not the case, unless Angela had a massive haircut. So a big welcome to Greg Weiss, who is my co-host for the week. Greg, how are you?
I'm great. It's not Vice, because Vice sounds like I'm doing something naughty. It's Weiss.
Weiss. Greg Weiss.
Like, that's it.
You see, that's the South African in me, mate. It's everything with a W as a V. So
yeah, that's right.
Greg,
that would be
you're no stranger to podcasts and vodcasts, mate. We met, and I've actually had the privilege of being on your show as well many moons ago. So thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it.
Looking forward
for
to
the audience, tell us what you do.
Well, I'm still trying to work that one out. No, I actually, first of all, this is not Angela Bithulkus. It is Greg Weiss. No. And I have I am also a geek. I am a proud geek, and I love technology and gadgets. So I'm really delighted to be on the show.
Fantastic.
And I have an HR background. I have a business called Career 365, which looks at employees who are transitioning from being made redundant to find out what their next job is. I've written 3 books in that space. And then I've got a new business called Solidify, which actually looks at the soul, the operational soul of an organization. So typically the entrepreneur, it needs to scale, needs to grow, and is looking for their operational other half, their soulmate, to be able to find out about how they could grow in a more disciplined way, because often entrepreneurs need that help.
That's a fantastic idea. And I think, Greg, with COVID and here again in Sydney, we've been extended for another week of lockdown, which we knew was coming, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of soul searching that's going to be going on. I know that I sit many a morning here at least I'm in a gaming chair, so I feel like I'm kind of still having fun, but I'm sitting in my little home office and I'm going, oh man, So congrats on that one. In fact, we definitely need to talk about that a bit more. We can take that for the non-geeky side of our show.
Sure.
Now, as you may or may not know, we have a segment which we call a Thingz with a Z. I'm going to just bring up my my screen, which would be... and just going to be going, oh, you see, even when I'm not there, he still can't get it right. So there we go. I've got Thingz with a Z. Mm-hmm. And this week, I'm reviewing the TCL, it's Next, but NXT Wear. Now, it looks like a pair of glasses. And in fact, from the front, when you see pictures of people wearing them, it looks like you're wearing a pair of Men in Black dark glasses. But in fact, they're actually not. You can't see through. If you look over here, this is from what you would see as the viewer. These are 2 screens, and basically you can now watch content in the equivalent of about 140-inch screen, but on your face.
Oh wow!
It's not a new technology. There's been a few people that have made a foray into this type of tech before. What was pretty cool about this though is, one, it doesn't cover your whole eye, so it's not like a VR experience where you're totally immersed and you can't see anything else. In fact, for some people, some of the reviews that I've actually read up on the product, they felt that because you could see underneath and there was a bit of a gap, it was a little bit off-putting. Now, I personally liked it. If I was walking around watching content, I could at least see where I was going as opposed to being blacked out. But I think, equally, if you're just sitting and watching something or even playing a game, so I connected it to my phone and I was playing my games up on the screen in front of me. What I liked was that if someone came into the room or something moved, I could still see it. So I wasn't totally blacked out. And then what I did do is at nighttime, if I turned off all the lights and I was just sitting on the couch or sitting in bed, and this is the big thing, if you share a bed with someone and they moan at you for having the TV on or having your iPad on or having the flicker of your cell phone, on in the dark because they're trying to sleep, well, this takes away that problem because it's all closed off for yourself. And of course, with the dark, you don't see the little gaps underneath. The incredibly lightweight. Yes.
No, I just was so glad that you actually said that they're moaning at you in bed because they're trying to sleep. I mean, moaning would be a good thing.
This is the technology show where we talk about
That's right. That's right.
The sexology, technology show.
Oh,
Greg,
there
I
we
must
go.
say, that I can't sleep without content. So this is why this was quite an
Right.
exciting review for me.
Mm.
If I'm not allowed to have a TV on, then I use an iPad or phone, but I kind of use it to switch off. And I think you know what it's like dealing with the professionals that you deal with in your day to day as well. It's actually quite hard to switch off at night. You're thinking about the deal, you're thinking about what you should have done, or maybe what you should still have to do. So by having that immersed experience where you're not totally locked out, but you're still there, and it's 4K as well, so it's really good high definition. I found it was an enjoyable experience to use. Now, you might notice there's a wire. This version, there's the first version that's come out, and I believe Australia is going to be one of the first countries to get it. It arrives this month or early next month. I don't know the exact date, and I will update accordingly. But the wire goes to a USB-C port. Now, straight away for iPhone users, that's not going to work. You can't use it on your iPhone. There will be a wireless version. The problem with wireless is that wireless devices need batteries. So batteries need charging. Batteries make a device heavier. So what was really cool about this is no power requirements. That takes the power from your phone or from your iPad. Your tablet. Wouldn't be an iPad. It could be an iPad, actually. The iPad Pro uses USB-C. And it has no power requirements. So you're never going to have the screen not charged when you want to use it. So there are trade-offs between wired and unwired. But for the iPhone users that don't want to add dongles and attachments and all other weird and wonderfuls, there will be a wireless version which will come out. Again, I don't know when. I've only played with this one. I have no idea of pricing. I think it's in about the $800 or $900 mark. So it's not a toy for everyone, maybe. But I had a lot of fun with it. I must say I didn't enjoy having to give it back. It's not often that I need to give back my toys that I review. So TCL, and they do sponsor the show. Big hint, if you ever have excess stock that needs to come over, you know where my address is. So that's
I'll need to give you my address as well. Can I just make a comment or two on? Can I give you a comment on? First of all, I think it's great because I think it's got an interesting look about it. First, look, it's almost Wayfarer-ish, like Ray-Ban Wayfarer-ish, so it actually looks a little bit more stylish. The second thing is I'm quite interested in the idea that it gives an all-round experience. I quite like the idea what you actually said to me, what you said, which is that you get to see underneath. So if you're still walking around with something, you can still be mobile but still have an experience. I'm curious where the sound comes from, Brett. Where does the sound come from?
So it does have built-in sound inside the arms of the glasses, but I actually used my Wi-Fi. I've got little earbuds, all these big boys as well, I suppose. So I just used buds, so there was no leaked sound. So I had an immersed sound experience. I had the visuals right up front and center. So it was actually quite cool. And you can wear an over the head. I mean, I'm wearing normal glasses as we speak, as are you, and my over the ears work fine. So that's just a personal preference. I don't like to have the in-ears in for a long time, especially if I'm watching a movie. Like it's going to be an hour and 40 minutes. I much prefer an over the head. But yeah, you compare that to the device, and then this just runs through on its own power. But there were built-in speakers as well, if you need.
Because I mean, wearing something as big like a VR thing at night time, it just doesn't obviously work. But this looks like it's some smart tech. I'd be quite interested in the idea of trying those things out myself. And let me ask you, at night time, I mean, you use the example at night, blue light, can you adjust it? Did you find yourself getting a little bit too activated, like watching this thing before you went to sleep?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't. I don't really feel the effects of blue light. I look at screens all day long, and I'm generally wearing glasses as well. That's actually one of the questions. I mean, you and I both wear glasses, especially for screen. Now, I couldn't wear these, while wearing the other glasses. So that could be a problem for some people. It does come with a little attachment that sits just on the nose bridge that almost magnifies, and you can change the nose piece as well. I think there were 3 different sizes. so that you can extend it a little bit further or closer from your face as well. So it's not a perfect science. I mean, you're asking really good questions. The blue light, that I don't think it has blue light filtering in, but I do know from TCL and the phone that I use as well that a lot of their technology does take blue light reduction into consideration. So I would assume that they've probably programmed that in as part of that NXT, which is their brand that they use for Next Vision, Next Wear. I assume that they've probably factored some form of blue light reduction, because your eyes are so close. But great question, mate. I don't know the answer to that one.
Interesting piece of tech.
So that would be, that's my review for the week. Let's move on to business tech news. So I will start off with something a little bit fun and light. And in fact, I actually thought quite clever. So this is called This Song Plants Trees, in case you can't read. And I put the website up there as well. What these guys have done is to offset carbon emissions. As we all know, you need to plant a tree. And every company says, if you do this, we'll plant a tree. If you do that, we'll plant a tree. Well, this company or this group is no different. What they're asking you to do is to take the song that they've launched the world's first MP tree. Sorry, not my words. And they've asked you just to add it to your song playlist on Spotify or Apple Music or Deezer, or any of the sound, the paid music subscription services that you may have. So by adding this song into your playlist, every time it plays, then that platform will pay a few cents in royalties to this company. And once they've got about 100 songs, they have enough money to plant a seedling. So that's what this is all about. So I just thought it's different. I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a tech play to it. That's why I included it. But yeah, great idea, great initiative. And I listen to music all day long while I'm working. So just to add it into my playlist is not hard.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Well, I think it's an interesting idea. So you download, you pay for the song, or
no, the song's free. So if you go to their website, it gives you a little step-by-step instruction how to take the song and add it into your respective network. Incidentally, do you have a paid music service that you use?
Paid? Talk about God, the amount of bleed I have every month on. I have an Android, so it's YouTube Music, it's Spotify, because my kids won't transfer across to YouTube Music. It's Amazon, it's Deezer on trial. I mean, geez, unbelievable. I can't believe it.
I'm going to have to get you on the show more often, because it sounds like you and I have the same pain.
That's right. Crazy. But I think this is a nice idea. Anything that can help to green the planet, I think it's a really nice idea. And hey, music and enviro, I think that's an absolutely sensational idea. I'm curious to learn more.
So that was the one that I came across for the week. What have I got here now? I've gone the wrong way. Did you read up about this? The Kaseya ransomware attack that is, we've got quite a few victims here, but it's been a global attack. Now, the VSA server specific is what's been hit. So I'm going to change that acronym now to very Slack automation, because Kaseya is an automation tool that helps IT professionals. So it makes sense that they were the target of a cyber attack, because you're taking down massive networks. They did come out and they owned it. Apparently, it's about a $70 million, and I think that's a US dollar amount, ransomware request. So it's not small money. But, every single week I've been talking about hacks and scams and things are just trying to separate us from our money. And I'm not talking about your YouTube, Amazon, and Spotify subscriptions. I'm talking about some really big money. So, I wanted to use this almost as a lead on to the next point that I was going to make. When big companies and big server farms and software as a service companies like this are being hit, then that makes us all vulnerable. And, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've got another week of lockdown. Work from home is a serious problem. Now, you can see I've got that little flashing lightning bolt there pointing to the printer. What a lot of people don't know is that the easiest way to hack a system is through the printer. It's one of the easiest points of entry into your network. So, the fact that we're now all working from home now, I try to find a picture of a home office. I mean, my home office is not as organized as that. I've been stuck into my little corner here, but I do get the sun, which is nice. But the problem is that, as businesses are now having all their staff working from home, the chance of a vulnerability happening in the home environment is obviously increased, which means that if you're working on something for your company and you're doing it at home and your system at home gets compromised, that hacker can now get through back into the corporate world, into the corporate network, sorry, and obviously wreak havoc everywhere. So just to finish up on the point that I made about the printer, and the reason why the printer is so easy to hack, if you've ever connected a Wi-Fi printer to your home network or your office network, you literally push the WPS button and you wait for it to find a signal. Anyone with a listening tool is waiting for that same signal and they pick it up as well. So it's quite an easy hack. It can be done at range if they're just sitting outside your house or one of your neighbors. And these things happen. So the advice here is, if you're a corporate and you have, or even a small business and any business, and you have people working for you that are now working at home, you need to educate them on security, and this is going to sound terrible, but like going to sites that they shouldn't be going to, even more so not going to them on your company computers, because if any malware gets in or any hacks come through, it can wreak havoc across your business. And I think businesses have been given enough of a hard blow with all of this in the last 18 months. We don't need our systems to go down either.
So how would we, just curious, and instead of the WPS button, is there a different route that you suggest people go?
There are. So look, I still use the WPS button. I've got a robo vacuum that I use. I actually reviewed that a few shows ago from Ecovacs. I use the WPS button. So people are going to do it. It's not a perfect world, and I'm not saying you don't use it. There is normally a hardwire that you can add a USB cable into the back of it and plug that into your computer and transfer it into the network. That would be more secure. But the thing is also to just keep changing your passwords. So a lot of people are complacent when it comes to password changes. And the other thing is to use a two-step factor authentication. So, if you use Xero, for example, I use Xero for my accounting package. Every 30 days, I have to re-authenticate. So I don't have to change my password, but I have to re-authenticate my browser. So it's little things like that that can actually just help us keep more secure. And the worst one is to think that people aren't going to come after you. It's just you sitting at home. As I said, now that we're working from home, we're the softest targets and we're the easiest targets. So just be vigilant. I think that's the right word.
It's good advice. I know that I use also Xero, and I also use VPN, and just making sure that whenever I'm going on to anything, I'm using VPN. So anything sensitive, I'll turn that on, and it doesn't seem to slow anything down whatsoever. Interesting. And I do think that it's sadly the way the world's moved, is that this is the new warfare. Being hacked and ransomware, it's pretty ugly. I've thought that everybody's vulnerable, and if this is actually the underbelly, the soft underbelly, I think it's a very good warning that you're making, saying everybody from HR out to the rest of their employees, that they need to be very vigilant. Who would have thought?
I thought that was one of the things that the reason I wanted to bring it up today, because I know you're an HR expert, and I know that you spend, except for when you're helping a mate out and being a co-host on a tech show, I know that is 99% of your day, and this is probably something that you'd have the opportunity to communicate with with your clients as well. And the more of us that can share this information, and the more of us that can make our colleagues, our friends, more aware of these type of things, the safer we're all going to be. Everyone's doing it tough at the moment, and the last thing we can afford is to have our businesses hacked and lose, whatever revenue streams we still have, because our systems go down, or ransomware or anything like that. So, it's one of those things that if you're going to visit a site you shouldn't, then don't. Don't try and go there and think about it. If the company policies say don't. It's just that simple. What else have I got for us here on business news? So We have the
Astronaut.
competition of rocket size at the moment. I said rocket, Greg. So one of the things I came across now is, Bezos has just stepped down from Amazon. I think it was official last week, Friday. And in true spirit, Branson doesn't want to be outdone. He reckons he's going to be the first billionaire in space. So I haven't put old Mr. Musk into this one. He gets enough free time on our show. But apparently Sir Richard is going to be going up on the 11th, which is imminent, a few days. Now, is he doing it just to beat Jeff? Is he doing it for publicity? Hell yeah. That's what Virgin's all about. Are we about to lose another billionaire? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how safe all these things are and what they're doing and the trials and tests. But I must say that I am quite impressed that the captains of industry are the first to go up on their own craft. Very interesting space that we're going into here, with our billionaires all fighting for space. I wonder if they have to wear a mask when they go up.
Well, I'm wondering if they're going to have to both wear jeans as well, because they look like they've been styled by the same people there.
I did put a lot of effort into finding these pictures, I must say.
I mean, it's a really interesting ego trip, isn't it? Really, I mean, it just you wonder if it's that they're saying, hey, it's like COVID injections. If the Prime Minister's got their injections first to give people confidence, whether in fact it's, hey, I'm a billionaire, I've got a lot more financial whatever it is to lose. Bezos less now because of his marital situation. But notwithstanding, I mean, they're definitely putting their proverbials on the line, and space travel is not safe by any means. No. So I guess what they're doing is they're showing, hey, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for the rest of us. I think it's a very exciting chapter. It does concern me about. I do like the idea of, imagine traveling from, say, where we are in Sydney, say, to London in 30 minutes. It would be fantastic.
I've been following that. That's incredible. My dad's business partner many moons ago was one of the last people to fly Concorde, when they had the Concorde service running.
Yeah.
And he said, when you pay the money that you paid, and you sit in this little cramped environment, you kind of question yourself. But when you take off in London and you land in New York in a couple of hours, then all of a sudden you realize how worthwhile it is. They're apparently going to be doing that. I think they said 2030 is when they're looking at the first test of the new versions of Concorde. And I think Amazon's actually invested in that venture. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the guy just bought a $500 million boat.
Oh, so, yeah.
That's right. Why not buy a supersonic aeroplane as well, just to go with it? So
absolutely. Well, you and I should wear, clearly, I think the lesson is you and I, well, you got the hair, I don't, so I'm Bezos and you're Branson, and you and I need to wear jeans to work, and maybe we'll get closer to the billions that these guys have got. It's a pretty ballsy move. I think it's incredible. I guess running, I'm going to make the thing saying running Virgin or running Amazon ain't rocket science, RR.
Well, you're right. I mean, if you think about it, though, and this is probably, again, something you come across in your daily life, as long as you've got the right people around you, and that's the skill that these two men, all captains of industry, they identify the right people that are going to do the job correctly and not have to manage them. I mean, there was no reason for Jeff to step down. He's still young. He's still got many, many years to go. But, he's got space to conquer. So we'll see what happens there.
Amazing.
Oh, that mess. Do you know what that is, Greg? I don't know if my picture's clear enough, but do you know what that actually is? What you're looking at?
That either is a call center in the Philippines, or it's a whole bunch of servers or something like that. Is that right? It's all connected, some bunch of servers to come together with something big. Is that correct?
Correct. So it's basically GPUs, general processing units, and CPUs. That is a Bitcoin mining farm. That's what a Bitcoin mining farm looks like.
Oh, wow.
Now, you're not going to be seeing those in China for too much longer. That is a Chinese one. That was where I got the picture from. China's now banned Bitcoin mining. I think Bitcoin as well is being banned, but that was already a while ago. The reason why I brought this up is it's actually also a bit more of a caution than it is just news, because this has been going on for a while. They've been talking about doing it. The problem with Bitcoin mining is that there's multiple problems with Bitcoin mining. So let me just quickly step back and dumb this whole thing down. The concept of Bitcoin mining is having a computer run multiple algorithms over and over and over again, trying to find that one little bit that would then fall into the blockchain, and hence the term mining. You're mining for data, and if you can get that coin and have it added to the chain, then you make some money out of it. This is where a lot of people come unstuck. The electricity, first of all, the hardware requirements. So we had a shortage of GPUs, especially in the gaming industry, because everyone was buying them up to do all the mining work. So that was the one thing. So it's an expensive piece of machinery to actually set up to build a gaming machine equivalent or to the minimum specs of mining. The second thing is it runs at incredibly high speeds, at incredibly high temperatures, and it draws a lot of electricity. So it can cost you money in electricity as well, more than you could make. And I say could make, because 90% of the people that mine don't ever successfully get anything except for a big electricity bill and obviously a hardware cost. Now, a lot of people have been talking on the blogs about the fact that China has been shut down. The abilities to now mine and actually succeed in mining should increase. Now, the theory is sound, but the practicality is still not sound, because China wasn't the only one that had these big rigs. There's a lot of other people out there, and a lot of other countries that have big mining farms. All that's going to happen now is that they just have a better chance because they've now moved up the rank. So if you're thinking of getting into Bitcoin mining, now that China's banned it, don't. That's not the reason to get into it. If you're already in Bitcoin mining and you have succeeded, now maybe you've got a better chance of making a bit more. But as I said, it's more of a cautionary notice, because electricity bills is apparently quite substantial to run this rig.
Certainly looks like it. Geez. And you said 90% of people do not make money. So it's a small percentage of people who do.
Yeah. Basically, the way it works, and I'm not an expert, but you have to solve the algorithm. So, if you just picture these machines, right? So the faster the machine and all the more machines you have, like the picture shows you, those are all networked and synced, the bigger the chances that you've got of solving the algorithm. Now, there's another concept called halving. Every so many months or years, they make Bitcoin availability halve. So that way it eventually gets to a finite amount. And that's why people think it's so valuable. So with halving, it's even harder to find that algorithm that needs to be solved. So I think, it's like anything in life. If you get in early and you're first to market, you're probably going to make some cash. But this is not new. It's been going on for years and years and years and years. So, to try and jump in now is probably not a good idea. I wouldn't advocate for it. I think I don't know if there's any more that I've got here on tech news. The mall. I've got to do us justice and talk about the mall. So, Greg, I don't know if you even know about the SME mall.
Tell me.
So I'll tell you about the SME mall. SME Association of Australia, as you know, Angela and I both belong to the SME TV and podcast that Angela does as well. That's all powered by them. So we've built this mall. We talk about it every week. And normally what I do is when I review a product, it's normally available in the mall as well. But we built the mall up, one, for services. So, Greg, even you can get a shop in our virtual mall. So for services, people that sell services or sell time for a living, it's not something you can put into Amazon or eBay. We have a calendar function, so you can put your time that you have available, the price, and you get paid up front, which is nice. So if you think about people like, the nail technicians, the hairdressers, people book with them and then they don't show, they lose the money. So now they can take payment up front. But as I said, we often review products and then we put those products in the mall. Technology has its own shop in the mall where we review products. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been listening to some of the feedback where people have been coming to the mall and there hasn't been a lot of choice and a lot of selection because, we're still helping companies get on board. So I've done a little bit of a reboot, done some affiliate marketing deals. Now, for the listeners that don't know what affiliate marketing is, if you go to a website and you see an advert for something that, like holidays or rental cars or even Xero software that we spoke about earlier, and you click on that, that takes you to that website. But in clicking, the person whose website that you saw that on gets a small percentage. They get a little fee. That either it's a fixed fee or a percentage of the sale. So I have gone and secured over 80 affiliate deals for them all. So that way, anyone that comes there can buy anything from chocolate to water bottles to camping tents or all the peripherals. And in these 80 affiliates, because it links you to their website, they have more than one product on their website as well. We've got electric skateboards, we've got books, audiobooks, ebooks, software, even sex toys. So everything is there on the SME Mall. And for those people that are looking to get a shop, it's free. It costs nothing to join, nothing per month. So, come and open a free store, and there we go. So,
I'll talk to you later on about how I get involved. Because I've written some books, and also I'd like to be able to understand how I can connect more with small, medium-sized enterprises. It sounds like a great idea.
Well, we'll definitely talk off air. And the books, there's actually a book section. In fact, I think there it is on the screen, the bottom left. You can see books and music. So we put your books there, and off you go. So we'll definitely take that. We'll take that chat off air, and then next week I'll be announcing that Greg now has a shop.
81.
I think that brings us to the end of business or things business news. Every week we get some questions. Greg, I think I've handed the questions over to you, and
you have. Question from. Okay, well, the first question I've got here is, how do I know my rechargeable batteries are dead? Good question.
Well, when you put them in your device and they don't work, they're dead. No, I think they're talking about the life cycle of the battery. So it actually is a good question. So I use rechargeable batteries on my mouse because you go through quite a lot of batteries. And I think, first of all, the fact that we're talking about batteries, let's also talk about responsibility. So the same as a normal battery, like a single-use battery, if you are going to dispose of rechargeable batteries, please do them in a responsible way. So take them to one of the recycling places. I think Aldi's has a little bucket outside all their stores that you can put your batteries in. I'm not sure if Kohl's still does, but they used to. So there are lots. There's no excuse to put them into landfills. So please don't put them into landfills. But basically, a rechargeable battery will probably only last between 60 and 100 cycles. Now, the cycle is generally the same as when you buy a single-use battery. And the way to tell is that if you have charged it to full and you put it in your device and you're not getting even close to half of the time that you used to get, that battery cell is now at the point where it can't actually be recharged. And the reason I say half is generally what happens with batteries is they run at optimum for all of their life. And when they get to like 75% of chargeability, at that point down, they don't hold their charge anymore. They just start to decay. I must say that I've had my rechargeables in my mouse now for over a year. And I've actually just changed them this morning, as it so happens. So it really is a good investment. So thanks for the question. I'm a big advocate of using rechargeables if you can. And then also obviously dispose them. The other thing as well, please do not mix rechargeable batteries, either in the device or on the charger. It will.
And why is that?
Leak. So the batteries often have different milliamps inside them. In fact, I have two different types. My keyboard uses one type and my mouse uses another type. And the reason for that is the mouse requires more power. So I have special batteries that I bought for just for my mouse. If you mix the batteries, let's say the one's running at 2,000 milliamps and the other one's running at 3,000 milliamps, that draw can cause a problem for the weaker one to actually have to work harder, and therefore it can leak. And also putting them into the charger, you can't mix them up either because it's drawing current at different rates. So one will overcharge while it's waiting for the one to still charge, if that makes sense.
That's a good thing to know. So if I buy rechargeable batteries, I buy them specifically for a particular device, or if I buy a family of the same batteries, then I can interchange those.
Correct.
So that's what you're saying.
And that's what I've generally got the family. I've got about 8 of the same brand, but then I've got 4 that I use for my mouse. So 2 are fully charged and 2 are in the mouse, and then I switch them and charge them around again. But that was just purely because, and I wasn't aware of this, is that the milliamps are so different across so many of them. When you look at the price of rechargeable batteries, that's the reason. The lower the milliamp, they're a lot cheaper. So rather buy the more expensive ones and have more power that you could use on any device, and then have the cheaper ones that don't necessarily work on all your devices. It's just not enough power.
Let me ask you, Brett, so if I go about and want to get a rechargeable battery, from what milliamp up would you recommend?
I think most of them, in fact, I'll tell you right now, let's have a look at my mouse, because this one's the powerful ones. So these ones are 1800 milliamps.
Right.
So that seems to be doing a really good job on my Apple mouse, and that's, out of all the things that I've played with, that seems to be the one that was the hardest to keep powered. The other thing that's actually quite interesting, I mean, this is a great question. It takes us down a whole rabbit hole here. I've noticed, I think it's called the positive cell, the positive side of the battery, the little knob part at the top. They're not all the same, the height. So I had a set of batteries that didn't work in my mouse. It wasn't making contact. So and then when I put them side by side, I actually Googled it. The height of the little knob was actually a lot shorter.
Wow.
And therefore didn't make enough contact. So that was also quite interesting. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I find the whole battery thing really just, and rechargeable batteries, like I use a shaver just to, and how often should I be charging this thing? Should I just draw them all the way down? Do I constantly, when do I charge them, and so on and so forth? Because the question from the question to you is about when they're dead, but what about, is it okay to charge them? Is it okay to charge them when they're not dead?
It's actually a good question. So unlike the old days, now giving our age away here, where we had batteries with lithium ion that we had to, not lithium ion, sorry, nickel metal hydride, that you had a thing called memory effect, and you had to let them drain every so often. That was good for them. The opposite is true. It's not good to drain your battery. So I'm actually quite a big advocate of never letting a battery go below 20%. In fact, I get a warning on my Mac that says mouse battery's low, or keyboard battery's low, or headset, whatever. And that's normally about the 15-20% mark, somewhere there. I charge straight away. So it's actually not good. It's better for the longevity of your devices, or your battery, sorry. And, well, even your devices that have batteries in, to not let them go all the way to zero.
Okay, well, that's something because I'm constantly tethering my Mac here that I'm talking through, and then I take it out and think, okay, well, it's a good idea to drain it. But just saying it's actually, it doesn't have to be. Okay, that's interesting. No. I got another question, which is from somebody else. Battery doesn't last on my AirPods the whole day, and I need them for Zoom calls. How do I make them last the whole day?
It looks like we could call the show Being Battered. Okay, so first of all, you shouldn't be using your AirPods the whole day on a Zoom call. I don't personally think that's such a good idea. I think, having those things in your ears at volume, one, I don't think it can be comfortable, but even if it is, I don't think you should have them in your ears the whole day. But be that as it may, the answer is actually quite simple. You can't. So I think, I don't own AirPods. I use Jabras. But I think AirPods only last about 3.5 hours of continual playtime. It's a very simple solution. Even if you buy a cheap pair, get a pair of wired headphones, so that you could, because every computer still has an earphone jack in them. It's only the modern day phones that generally don't. So you can get yourself a cheap pair of wired headset and plug those in while you're charging up your AirPods. The other option is, if you look at the headset I'm wearing, as it so happens, also they're Jabras. I get 30 hours off this headset without charging it.
Wow.
And because they're over the ears and they've got the big sponge, can move in nice and close so you can see. These are incredibly comfortable. I could sit with them on the entire day. I've done a long haul flight. Do you remember that thing called flying, Greg? Do you remember we used to get in these things and go somewhere? Do you remember that?
Somewhere.
Old technology.
Well, that's right.
So if you go on a long haul, and some of the flights I've done are over 14 hours, then charged once, and I can sit and watch my movies in that with these. They're never uncomfortable.
Amazing.
They're noise cancelling. So rather invest in it. If you're doing that much Zoom calling at home, or in the office, I mean, the person didn't say where they are. My suggestion is invest in a comfortable pair of headsets. In fact, go to the SME mall. We've got lots of headsets to choose from there, over the ear, in ear, etc. And get yourself a pair of comfortable over the ears. So hopefully that helps a bit.
Well, unless, of course, the only caveat is that you've got 14-hour flights. But if the Mezos and Branson rockets take off, we've got literally half an hour to wear something like that, right?
You'll be fine.
So. That's right. So, I mean, I think that's really interesting, actually, about because we are. I mean, I have a few different headsets. I've just had some headsets that have died. Yeah, that's it. That's the other option, isn't it? Really? Yeah, I've got similar sort of thing. I've got my Bose here. I got my Power Beats and all that sort of stuff. I've actually got those ones that you talk about, plugging into the phone jack, etc. So I do mix it around to make these make my ears feel a little bit more comfortable, and also whilst I'm recharging. But an interesting thing, I reckon that look, I think your space around being technology is just a fantastic space. There's just so much that happens on a regular basis, and I must say I actually have learned a heck of a lot in your show today. Some nice distinctions there, Brett. I really think it's fantastic. I certainly am not going to feel uncomfortable about charging my batteries anymore, and the idea of being hacked in. I mean, the chances are pretty small, but notwithstanding, it's still the soft underbelly of any household. You're saying is the printer, so I want to make sure I'm careful about that. And I think it's just altogether some really practical pieces of advice here. So
glad you enjoyed it.
That's fantastic. And what I'll do also is I will. I think there's a really good opportunity to alert small, medium-sized businesses as well as HR departments about their distributed work staff, about that they actually have to be very careful through their printer, but also not to visit sites that they're being prescribed not to visit. So some very good stuff there.
Well, Greg, before we wrap up, because we have got to, as they say, the skinny part of the show, just tell the listeners, where do we find you? I mean, I know we're going to find you in the SME Mall soon for your books, and you're quite humble. It's 3 books, if I'm not mistaken, that you've written. So it's not just one book. Okay, so where do we find you? Give us your websites, give us information again, and I'll tag it up as well in the show.
Book 1. Book 2, which follows Career Clarity. Once you know what you're doing, then you can network. And book number 3 is once you're on board in a new organization, how to succeed in your new job. They're those. You can find me through 2 sites. So primarily through LinkedIn. Look me up on LinkedIn. WEISS. That there. And then the other way is career365.com.au, and we're actually still in the process of developing the Solidify website. So when that's up, stay tuned. You'll see that. But if it's through LinkedIn, you'll get notified. But I must say it was a real pleasure being on the show. And if Angela's busy again and she doesn't have the time and you want to have me back, I'd love to be back because I'm a geek.
We'd love to have you back, and we will take you up on that. So I'm going to ring it off for now, and we will be seeing you again soon then, quite clearly. Thank you for the offer. So until next time, keep your screens clean and your knobs shiny.